To all my fellow Australians, you need to listen to this story very carefully, because this is something you can use against the governments and the politicians right now. Listen to me carefully, guys. You really do need to pay undivided attention. One of the biggest constructions in Australia that began by the Freemasons, I want you to listen carefully, okay? The police started to get evil and take over in 1980, okay? Listen carefully. In 1980 is when the evil started to take over. It's important that you understand something very crucial in Australia, okay? Something there's evidence right in front of your eyes with, right? That you can use right now, right? With the tyrannical takeover that's going on down there and the violence that's happening with the authorities. Guys, listen carefully. If you go into a government website, okay, listen to me. If you go into the government website in 2016, you will see they did a mandatory urine test across Australia amongst all the government workers and all the authorities, right? Okay, minus employers that work for the governments in any government contract, but most of all the government itself, the police department, authorities, prison guards and all these sorts of people, okay? They did a mandatory urine test about methamphetamine. And it came back amongst all these bureaucratical idiots. It was 57% positive and 75% admitted to using it. Go and look at the website itself. What you need to understand is that the Prime Minister at the time, which was Tony Abbott, he made a national, he made a conference on TV, and he said, for the first time, we're going to break the code. And that code is that never to admit that we're being defeated by drugs. Tony Abbott on TV, national TV in 2016 said, we have a very serious problem and we're going to break the code by telling you we're being defeated by drugs. We are being defeated dramatically by drugs because 6 out of every 10 in our own department is on meth. 6 out of 10 is on meth. Now, guys, did anyone get stood down? No. No, not one single person was fired, right? So what you have right now is you have a meth takeover inside the government. And that's why these police are such scumbags. We were dealing with it, all right, okay? Already by the 1995-2000, okay, we were dealing with cops being real scumbags, but no one would believe us. No one would believe us that they were so evil. They were doing really evil, dreadful things, right? Very evil cops, man, right? And it's because they're on meth, right? Now, all you have to do is demand a urine test and the whole lot and demand to know why nothing ever happened about this. Because when you really start to dig into this, you start to understand a few very important things that you need to deal with. You want evidence to take the government down. It's right here. And let me tell you something that you're not paying attention to. I've been here for 5 years exposing this, and I can't believe how stupid you all are down there, right? Trying to do things, and you don't fucking pay any attention, man, right? The greatest Australians down there are not paying attention. Are you going into brain lock yourself? I'm asking you a question because I'm giving you the most powerful evidence that you need to use. Listen carefully. They were giving out meth and amphetamine across the chemist counters without a prescription up to 1979. They got nearly every single truckie on the road on meth and lots of people in the political field. And I want you to understand that 2 scientists from NASA and the CIA, along with the government, okay, they decided to make ephedrine illegal so they could bring the recipes into the underground world. It was not illegal to have meth and amphetamine. You didn't even need a prescription for it. They deemed it to be the safest drug in the world. That's what they did. Up to 1978, it was deemed to be the safest drug in the world. And giving it away across the counters like lollies. Every truckie was on the shit, man. And so were so many bureaucratical people. Now, you just don't want to believe that. Well, the urine test is there in 2016 on the government website, so you can see it with your own 2 eyes. Since you don't pay attention to anything that I say, and you only believe in documents from the government itself. Well, there they are. You don't listen to people with a wisdom, you only listen to documents, back to front. Because wisdom is number 1, right? But you don't listen to anything. You don't believe a word I say, and that's how stupid you all are. And I'm saying how it is because I think you're being stupid. When I'm giving you the toughest evidence you're required to use, you don't pay attention. I'm sorry, but it frustrates the living shit out of me, right? That you're all still running around down there with hair, pulling hair out of your head, and you're not listening to the most powerful evidence you need to use right now. So listen carefully, guys. From 1980, 2 scientists from NASA flew in, right, set up by the CIA and the Freemasons in Australia. They began producing amphetamine and sending 10 ton to Amsterdam and 10 ton to Florida every single month for 14 years straight, from 1980 all the way through to 1994. It's a fact, brother, and it was fully protected by the governments. Fully protected by the governments while the drugs went into our streets and into everybody, right, as much as it possibly could. Protected by the governments because no laws were brought in until 1993. And that only happened when Europe brought down international pressure upon Australia. That's when they took down the Burroughs case in New Farm, Brisbane, a factory that was producing amphetamine. Now, they only took down so many people, right, to make it look like they were doing the right thing. But the 2 top scientists, right, were still sitting there continuing a 6-stage plan. Now, what you have to understand is the new laws brought in chemical laws so they couldn't get chemicals. That's when I come along because I was a mastermind of loopholes of laws, reverse psychology, and manipulation in the whole system. So I revertedly, right, designed a system to bring the chemicals back in again. So I became very well known within the organisations. Now, it's important that you understand one of the most crucial things. And that is that this is set up by the governments. And just in case you don't believe that, I just want to give you an idea of something you need to use because this is not being questioned by anyone in Australia and it really needs to be. Everybody knows they disarmed Australia with a Martin Bryan buyback plan, and there's always been a lot of conspiracies about the fact that it's set up by the Freemasons. Guys, I read a document this thick by the federal police, this thick, a very hidden document by the federal police that was investigating the Martin Bryan buyback plan and everything about the murder. In that report, right, they had got so far that they found a money trail with more than $50 million that paid for this to have this done. The whole thing was set up by the Freemasons, and they got a document this thick about the Freemasons taking over and owning Australia outright and taking over the whole political field. This document, right, after this document and this intensive investigation with all the names in it, all the Freemasons and every single thing that's going on because they really found all the evidence, right, then the case was shut down and ordered never to be shown to anyone. Yet I personally read the document myself through the scientists and the Freemasons running a show. And if you don't believe that, I want you to pay attention, guys. When they disarmed Australia with the Martin Bryan buyback plan, this is where your card is. This is your 2 biggest keys. I was done on the 17th of January 2001 for the biggest trafficking case in Australian history at the time, with 2 major networks, 3 major networks, Operation Tuna, Operation Twine, and Operation Axel. I'm Axel. And we went down in the biggest drug trafficking ring because we took over the scientists and we reverted the plan, right, and we brought out an organic meth that stopped the highest death toll of heroin and cocaine and brought it to the lowest by 2000 in 4 years. The lowest it was in 30 years. They didn't like that. They were protecting me like they were protecting everybody else. Every time there's raids went down or anything went on, they protected me more than anybody until I took over the scientists and started to change the plan from their 6-stage plan, which leads to 14 products of ice. And these 14 products have synthetic opiates in it, very harmful to the population. Now, I want you to listen to me. There's not one analysation reports anywhere that discloses this, which means they've wrapped this up so that every biologist lab and every certificate that's done, analysation report done in a court of law by any person who's busted, does not show these opiates are in there. And this goes to show how thick this plot really is, and this is what's happening in both America and Australia, because it's all combined under the two eyes, right? So I want you to listen to me carefully. In 2014, after I got out of prison and I was set up for prison, I just want you to know something. First of all, on the 18th of January 2001, when we went down, on the front page of the Courier Mail paper is a shipping container fully loaded with guns. Those guns were found at Vince Moran's place. Now, he's conveniently dead after he got out of jail. I want you to think about this, right? They had to get rid of him, right? I wrote a book in 2004 about this fact, that on the front page is a shipping container fully loaded with guns, and in big black writing underneath on the front page of the paper, it even states right there, these are the guns from the Martin Bryan buyback plan. There's your evidence, guy. Listen to me carefully. You've got to ask yourself, how did all those guns end up in our hands? In my Coey's hand. How come he had all those guns, man? Okay? Do you understand now that they look after the criminals? They feed the criminals in the chaos plan. This is what I'm saying to you. Every document under law and order document has a massive document to create chaos. You see, CIA feeds all the drug networks, and they feed it like this, okay? So it's important that you understand in 2014, okay, we had to do something underground. When I got out of prison, I realised, see, we were making organic meth from a plant called Mayhung, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. That wasn't part of their plan. So they turned on me, right? And my own arresting officer is standing at my second mention, which you can read, and he stands here and says, we don't have the evidence for this. This is all lies, and these people don't even know Kim. I've known Kim for 10 years. I'm his arresting officer. I know more about him than anyone. And then he's dragged out of the courtroom and they proceed. And you can read these documents, man. 4 years later, when I'm in prison, right, in 2004, Peter Dutton, the scumbag, right, they started corrupting a case of money laundering, and I was the first person to be charged for 14 counts of structuring. It all got ripped up and thrown out of fucking court, man. I was the only one telling the truth, like the judge said. And it was proven that I gave 90% of my money away, millions of dollars. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that. But everyone got thrown out of court, okay? And you can read all those transcripts because the case is still open, but don't read anything on Google. You have to go into the court case itself and have a look at the stuff, right, in a Supreme Court examination in October 2004 where the judge says I was the only one telling the truth and the case was corrupted. Then they put my wife and kids on witness protection against their will, and I took them to trial in 2009 and I fucking won and went into an inquiry, and Dutton was told to step down, but he didn't. Tony Abbott became the Prime Minister, and Tony Abbott took him and made him the second most powerful man, the Minister, and then he unlawfully deported me twice. The motherfucker. The evil piece of shit who was told by Chief Justice Jersey in 2010 that he must step down, but instead he got promoted, right? The Freemason motherfuckers, right? Scumbags who runs around and deports people unlawfully and breaks families up and without a care factor in the world. He's a scumbag, right? And let me tell you something. Just so you understand how much illegal shit's going on, you can read Chief Justice Jersey in a parliamentary crime and misconduct inquiry about my witness protection case that was overturned because the case was invalid and frauded on corruption. 2 cases Peter Dutton corrupted very, very badly that are sitting, both cases are sitting in all the universities in Australia when they go for law and order, when they go for a law degree, for barristers and that, they're given 6 cases, presented 6 cases of corruption to ensure such things never happen again. Chief Justice Jersey put 2 of my cases in there, and they're listed as 2 of the most corrupt cases in Australian history. That's given through St. Lucia, right, where all the people going in there to be students as a lawyer, a barrister, they read these documents, so they're very readily available, but not to the public. Peter Dutton's basically supposed to step down, and now he's the most powerful man as the Minister of Home Security, and he will never step down. He is a very, very evil Freemason, right? And he's corrupted so many things and should be removed from the system, but instead he's promoted. Now, what I want you to understand is the most crucial thing of all. In 2014, I had to go underground because they hate me. I'm their biggest thorn in their side. We learned that when I wrote the book in 2004, and the CMC came inside prison to raid me and confiscate every single book that had been starting to go into printing. They put a court order and seal order on every book company, film company, and every media system in Australia to make sure they never mention my name. That's how heavy They used their hand on this. They even came inside prison, and Senior Sergeant Kerry Stent of the CMC threatened to kill me, and the minute I was going to come out, I was going to be killed. So, you know, they were setting up something to happen. When I got out of prison, they tried to set me up for 3 separate fucking murders, man, and could never put me to the scene of the crime. Then they unlawfully deport me. This is how evil these motherfuckers are. But let me tell you something, guys. We did something, okay? In secret, stealth mode, we got 14 products tested in 2014 on an analysation reports, and they were given on a quiet side in someone's hands and taken to Channel 7 News. In 2014, on Channel 7 News nationwide, it was declared there are 14 products of meth, and all 14 have synthetic opiates in them. And it's not on any analysation report when people go to court. You see, guys, you really need to step up to the plate down there, right? I was unlawfully thrown out of Australia, right? And they're trying to suppress everything about me. They shut down 5 Free Martin Bryan groups when they found me on there, okay? Listen to me carefully. You have 3 very powerful things here. Channel 7 News disclosing the 14 products with opiates in it that's never used in any court system, so you can see the corruption and how deep it is here. 2, 2016 government website, okay? 57% of all the bureaucratical idiots and all the authorities use meth, and 75% admitted. Listen, 57% tested positive to a urine test. They tested positive, and 75% admitted to using it. It's on the government website, and nothing happened, man. Like 6 out of 10 should be stepping down. No one got sacked, man, right? And then you've got a government that's peddling this product for years for a reason, because I keep telling you, meth and amphetamine is 1/3 iodine, which is graphene oxide sheets. It's also used for ADHD tablets to calm you down and bring you up by controlling your mind. So you might understand what graphene oxide is, because I keep telling people, I was part of this plan and I know more about this product than any other human being on earth does. The 2 top scientists was working in NASA with the 26 top scientists that came from Hitler, right? What were they doing? They created the superhuman being, right, successfully with MBK, methylbenzoketone, and 14 other products. Hitler's plan was always to put the whole population on a meth with opiates and heroin in it. It was heroin back then. To put people on meth with heroin in it, so he could dumb the whole population down, right? And this is exactly what's going on here today, right? The CIA took those scientists and created NASA, and they've been working on this project ever since. And it's important you understand what the fuck is really going on, because I know the truth and no one's talking about it. No one is talking about it. But that's what's going on. These tyrants, the Freemasons, they're running the whole show. That's why they protect Tony Fauci, Bill Gates, and these pieces of shit. They protect them because they are the Illuminati, man. They are the Freemasons, right? The first eye on the dollar note and the second eye with a pyramid on White House is Australia, because Australia's the key. And I've been trying to say this for many years. They're going to take Australia and they're going to bring everything down. But everyone thought I was crazy for fucking years, didn't they? And you still think I am. That's the stupid part. I give you the most powerful evidence for you to use, and you don't respond down there. I don't understand what's going on up here. Why don't you respond? Are you all too gutless to face the real truth? Can you not deal with it? It's a fact of life, brother. And it's about time you pick up your sword and do something about this. The front page of the newspaper, on the 18th of January 2001, this shipping container fully loaded with a Martin Bryan buyback plan, guns, swept under the carpet and never a question or an eyelid raised about this. Listen, there's your evidence, man. Start asking questions about this and why it's not being disclosed that there are 14 synthetic opiates in all these 14 meds on Channel 7 News with the analysation reports to prove it. And in 2016 on the government website, it states 57% of their own bureaucratical idiots tested positive to a urine test, and 75% of people admitted to using it. Do you not understand what's going on in Australia, guys? They're all on fucking meth. That's why they're so evil, man. They're evil motherfuckers, right? Evil motherfuckers. And there is your evidence to bring them all down, right? Demand urine tests on these pieces of shit because they're incompetent and they're psychologically crazy. They're unfit to operate, man. Unfit to stand where they are. And that's the easiest way to bring them down, right? Take these documents to court and file them all in court for urine tests, man, immediately, right? Take these fuckers down, man. Take these pieces of shit down, because I'm telling you right now, that's the evidence you need to use, that they're all on fucking meth, right? They're psyched up robots like the kamikazes, right? That's when they first invented the bioweapons and nanotechnology, was methamphetamine in the kamikaze. They were the most evil suicide squad in the world, and I want you to think about that, because that's what they're developing here. That's what they're developing here, and it's important that you all understand what they're developing here.